I currently manage the Gloucestershire African and Caribbean Association. Runs a number of different projects which are predominantly around education and education of young people. So the organisation will deliver on a Saturday school, homework study support, after school stroke holiday club, and then we do elements of adult education which is around a parenting programme, which is the Strengthening Families, Strengthening Communities parenting programme. In my role as the manager of this organisation, I will sit on different committees where the views and the opinions of black and minority ethnic people are being sought. I will sit in those committees to give that voice and then feed back into the community. So it's you then enable a two-way dialogue to happen. I find it, at times it's exciting, but at times it can also be very challenging, because the expectation is that you will obviously deliver in terms of managing the various projects, but there's also elements of finding funding. Both my parents are from Jamaica. My dad is still in Jamaica, and my mum is here in the UK with us. She's getting on now. She's 89 at the moment, so sort of in a few more years, hopefully she'll get her telegram. I think she's looking forward to that. So both sets of parents from Jamaica, both in an area called St Catherine in Jamaica, came here to the UK. It's the usual thing. My parents came with the intention of not staying very long, but again, with myself spending as many years in Gloucester as I have done, you put roots down in your children grow, and your sort of priorities change and so on. So they, certainly with my mum has been here. I mean, I came here in 1959, and obviously my mum came before that, and is still here. So have grown up here, been educated here, and have paid my dues and my taxes ever since, folks. so still here. Yeah, we go back on holidays, and do the sort of usual go and visit family, and you spend, family time, because obviously you don't, it's quite expensive to go back, so you don't get back very often, unfortunately. But we do go back and we do spend time with family, and obviously, much as we're growing a family over here, the other side of the family are growing, the family over there. So you have to try and keep the links going and get to know people each time you go back. There's a different sort of cousin or somebody that's been born and growing up. So yes, we do keep in touch, and we do go back and visit. So it's either you spend time with the family at family home, or sometimes you just go back and do the touristy thing, because though coming from there, having spent as many years here as I have done, sometimes when I go back I am rather like a tourist. In my heart I'm still very much from a Jamaican, despite spending as many years here as I have done. But when I go back, you do have that sort of two-edged thing of here, I'm a foreigner, I go back home, I'm a foreigner. So sometimes where am I? But in my heart, as I said, I'm still very much there. When the plane doors open, I just think, yes. So very, very happy to be home. On first coming to England, the family at the time was living in the north, in Middlesbrough, and then not long after that, a couple of years after that, my father moved in to London looking for work, or my stepfather looking for work. So we moved to London, and that's, I suppose, most of my younger years were spent in London. And then from London, as I said, relocated with my then company. So that's kind of like my circuitous route to being here in Gloucester at the moment. So via the north down to London, and then across to Gloucester. One of the pieces of work that I did at that time was around doing a piece of research work into the housing need for our black elderly folk around sheltered housing. So that meant that I then worked with the local housing association, who had closer links with the Gloucester Housing Department. And when that piece of work came to an end, there was an advert for a job in Bristol, which was working in the sector, not so much around what I've just talked about, which was housing, but it was around enabling people within the community, whether it was for job search or training and so on. So I applied for that, got that, and that's kind of like set me off working in the voluntary and community sector. And I worked with that organisation for about 6 years, and then when I left there, I came here to work as the manager. So on moving into Gloucester back in those days, I joined in just volunteering and giving of my time to try and enable the organisation to grow and to develop and to become a stronger voice that was needed, as time goes on, as things within the society and community changes. There are various different needs that need to be met, and an organisation like this can help to meet some of those needs, whether it was in terms of supporting young people, because back in the 70s we went through a spate when there was all this kind of like stop and search, which at times was not particularly lawful, and a lot of our young people were finding themselves either by accident or by whatever means running foul of the law and not necessarily having a voice or a representational voice there to support them. And so that was one of the reasons around which the organisation decided, well, it really does need to grow and have a shape that is then recognised by other agencies when it is giving support to people. The community really, it has changed sort of demographically, predominantly here in Gloucester. When we first started, the larger population would have been from the Caribbean and predominantly from Jamaica. The next largest population would have been from the Asian community, whichever one, whether it's sort of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever. So back in those days, yes, the larger population would have been from the Caribbean, and there was sort of like a support mechanism that was needed then, and people made more, I feel, greater use of. I think what has happened in terms of a change is that obviously children who were born here see themselves very much as here and are far more integrated possibly than, say, the parents would have been, as they then would have been anew to the area and supported themselves from within themselves. The younger people see themselves here and expect to be more integrated and expect to have access to the services and resources that are here, far more so than, say, their parents would have done. Whether that's actually happened or not begs the question, and so I feel that there is still support is still needed. I think when you become settled, your family, as I said, it's my family. Part of the reason was my family for coming. So as the family, you put down roots, and the children begin to do different things, and they make friends. So you really don't want to uproot them. But I mean, that's not the reason now, because obviously they've now grown up. So that's not the reason. So it could be that I've just become settled, and I'm quite happy being in Gloucester. But also in putting down those roots, you form links with, say, organisations like the one that I'm with. There are other things that you do in the community, other organisations that you work with or you volunteer with. So doing that, I think I'm reasonably settled. So I'm quite happy to remain in Gloucester and to continue participating in the life of Gloucester. So I'm quite happy, thank you.